Welcome everybody. I'm so delighted to bring you the Zoom today. This is a general Zoom for anyone who is interested or curious about the medical medium, who's like, what's the big deal? Why is everyone talking about medical medium? How is he gaining so much popularity? How does Purium coincide with medical medium? Why is it that our protocols work so well? If you want to know why Purium works so well, understanding the medical medium will give you one perspective. Okay, so a lot of you have actually been following the medical medium. A lot of you have actually followed the protocols, have been incorporating medical medium and Purium. And I would like to see a raise of hands, or put in the chat, or both. Raise your hands and put in the chat, then raise your hand. If you already are a fan of medical medium or have been like reading and trying to learn about him. Tanya's a big fan. All right, I see Deborah's hand up, Ashley's hand up, Miran Carr, and Stephanie and Lake. Awesome. Bethany has all his books. Tal's raising her hands. All right, and Cleanse to Heal, good for you, Naomi. Yay, good for you. Heard about him back in 2012. All right, Magali, way to go. You've got me beat. And then who is just hearing about medical medium for the first time is just like, who is this guy? Like, I just kind of been hearing his name. Drop me 10 if you're just sort of here for curiosity, like wanting to learn something, or maybe, this could be some interesting new information, or just kind of wondering what the big to do. Drop me a 10 if that's you. Or just post in the chat, what are you hoping to learn here today? What are you interested in here today? Thank you. Naomi just put his book in into the tab. Can always count on Naomi for having links. She's so great at that. I love the medical medium detox smoothie, which aligns with our Purium detox cleanse shakes. Absolutely. Love the liver detox. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to start really quick and just show you I actually have loaned out, Kat has my book, but if anyone has the medical medium, the first book that the first of his series, there it is, Stephanie has. And if Stephanie, if you could come off mute so that it goes into the recording so people can see this book. Go ahead and speak.
Hello, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
That's the book that you want to start with. If you want to read them in order, that's the first one that got me interested. We've got Liver Rescue, Cleanse to Heal, Celery Juice. This one's Life-Changing Foods, Thyroid Healing, and I've got Cleanse to Heal, which I'm doing all these recipes for Thanksgiving and all the holiday things that happen in my house. So I've got, like doing all these recipes right now, they're all blocked off. So this is, that's just to get you started. Cleanse to Heal, I believe, is 50% off right now. So this is a good one to get, and you can find on Amazon for like $16. And these are all big books loaded with information. So here's what I wanted to start off with is I wanted to actually, I'm going to tell you the outline so you know what's going to be in this video and what's in the recording for those of you catching the replay. I'm going to share, my name is Rachel, for anyone who's new. My name is Rachel Balansat. I'm a huge medical medium fan because he's helped heal my life, okay? And I'm going to share a little bit about his story, and I'm going to talk about the basic principles that he presents and that he shares. And I'm going to talk about our superfoods and what these superfoods do, which ones he recommends, and why these are so powerful in conjunction with the medical medium knowledge, and how this can also be useful. Those of you, all of us who are brand partners or coaches, we're all helping people transform their lives. And if you're looking for university level training in nutrition, this is it, okay? So now that said, I want to also say that this is a perspective that has also become more and more backed by science. Medical medium has been teaching and helping people heal since 1975. Actually, before that, he's been helping with his family since before that. But he first introduced celery juice onto the scene in 1975, and it's taken until now for it to finally gain popularity. He was the one who introduced this celery juice. He's also the one who introduced the concept of Epstein-Barr virus to the scene, and because of him, studies were done, and now Now people actually are writing books about Epstein-Barr virus, and this is actually like something that he first introduced, this concept of people struggling with illnesses due to Epstein-Barr virus, which a lot of illnesses that we have in our world go back to Epstein-Barr virus. Herpes, shingles, there's like a bunch of different herpetic viruses, and Epstein-Barr virus is one of the herpetic viruses. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but what I want to do is share a couple stories of actually people who've actually transformed their lives following medical medium protocols, and telling the history of just Anthony Williams' basic history. Now, I am going to have to tell this quickly, and I'm not going to tell the whole thing because I don't want to spoil the punchline. If you want to know his story, it's best written in his very first book, the one that Stephanie was holding up, the one that's called Medical Medium, where he got the name, the one that's called Medical Medium. That is the most comprehensive outline. It tells his full story in the first chapter. If you're just looking to get inspired, read chapter 1. If I was going to give people no other homework assignment except one chapter, it would be chapter 1 of that book. If you want to just raise your inspiration, like, it is so incredible. And thanks, Naomi, for continuing to put links in the chat. So Stephanie is, a key player here. I want to start with some inspirational stories of just with Stephanie sharing her story, because her story is like a breakthrough story. She has followed his protocols to a T. And as most of us know, Stephanie, a couple years ago, had the breast cancer diagnosis, and she also ended up having some other issues like headaches. And she, went to Hope for Cancer in Mexico, started her healing journey with following a bunch of their protocols, but she also was incorporating very strictly the medical medium nutrition protocol. And now we know that she no longer tests for cancer. And so I'm going to let her just share briefly, just, your nutrition journey and what you've noticed.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm so grateful that you're doing this for us all. It's because of you that I found out about the medical medium and started his protocols many, many years ago, about 4 years ago, I think, before the cancer diagnosis. But it really wasn't until I was in Tijuana at Hope for Cancer for my final follow-up in June of 2019 that the lights went on, that what was going on for me in regards to my eye was connected to heavy metal toxicity. So I had been living with very severe migraine headaches for a year. And when I say very severe, I'm talking 2 to 3 migraine headaches a week that would take me out for several hours, and I would have to cancel all my appointments. Some of you who are here might remember those days, actually, because I might have had to cancel appointments with you. My life was not my life, really. I felt like a slave to these headaches, and it was horrendously disconcerting to me as a professional woman. And I did not know what to do. I didn't know what was wrong. But while I was at Hope for Cancer, the women at the table this one Sunday night, I just arrived back there for my third and final follow-up. We were talking about heavy metal toxins in the body, and all of a sudden, it was like the lights went on. And I was like, oh my God, this is what's going on with my eye. It's mercury. I just knew it was mercury. So I texted Rachel immediately, and I said, Rachel, send me everything that the medical medium has to say about heavy metal toxicity. And at that time, he was just launching the Cleanse to Heal book. So she sent me a bunch of blogs, and I learned all about the heavy metal detox protocol. And then I ordered this book, and I dove in deeply to understand how it was that I could heal my body of these horrendous migraine headaches. Long story short, after doing his morning protocol of lemon water that I doctored up with a bunch of anti-cancer stuff from Purium. And I'm happy to share that protocol with you. The lemon water, the celery juice, and the heavy metal detox smoothie for about 6 to 7 months, 5 to 7 days a week, the migraine headaches were gone. So I've been remarkably, dramatically impacted by what the medical medium teaches and shares. And I've been further impacted by what Rachel underscores and underlines for all of us in our medical medium thread on Facebook, which is that we want to be minimizing even healthy fats. We want to be minimizing fats in a diet. This was revolutionary for me because I think one of the reasons why I contracted the cancer diagnosis is because my lymphatic system was overwhelmed. Many of you know I was 50 pounds overweight and the body could not eliminate the trash. The lymphatic system takes out the trash. The body couldn't do it because I was eating foods that were high fat, high sugar, animal protein, and cow dairy. All those things were completely overwhelming my body's lymphatic system. And when the body can't figure out where to put the trash, it'll stick it into a breast or somewhere else in the body. And that's how tumors form. The cells stop functioning normally, and cancer can unfold. So as Rachel mentioned to you, there's no further metastasis in my body. The tumors are indeed shrinking. And I credit medical medium and Rachel with so much of, and Purium, to be honest. I mean, let's just be really honest. Like Purium's nutritional protocols are my foundation completely. And so coupled with all the ways that they, dovetail. This is what I love about how you've been educating us, Rachel, is showing us how what the medical medium teaches totally dovetails and coalesces with what Purium has. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're going to dive into that, into how they overlap. So stay tuned. That'll be more towards the end. So medical medium is Anthony William. That's his actual name, is Anthony William. He's the author of these books. And he first started hearing spirit, God, when he was around 4 years old. And what happened was he was at the dinner table. It was like a family dinner, and I think it was a holiday, and everyone came over. And it's the only time they ever saw spirit, that he saw this, that he saw what he calls spirit of compassion. And spirit of compassion went behind his grandmother and asked him to touch his grandmother's heart or her chest. And so he put his hand on her chest, and spirit of compassion said, "Say lung cancer." And he said, "Lung cancer." And he didn't know what it meant, but the whole family was shocked. And she went to the hospital, got diagnosed within the next 2 weeks, and she was diagnosed with lung cancer. And so that was the beginning of his journey, beginning to hear spirit of compassion. And then after that, spirit of compassion was just a voice in his ear. So this voice in his ear became very, very consistent and loud over time. And what happened was he was beginning to hear people being explained, they're diagnosed nonstop around him. So what happened was, I'm sorry, I have to turn off this music here because it's so loud, speaking of loud. So spirit of compassion began speaking into his ear, and he started hearing all of these diagnoses of everyone around him, and he would just say what he heard. So there was nobody exempt from this. Every single person he saw, he would hear their diagnosis. So no matter where he was in the world, he would hear this person, oh, this person has, this person has cirrhosis of the liver, or this person has cancer, or this person has diabetes, this person has Lyme disease, this person, and it was overwhelming. And somewhere around, it was either the age of 9 or 12, I forget, he was so fed up. He just wanted to be a kid. He just wanted to play. He wanted to stop hearing all this. And it was even so bad that he would go to the movie theater to try to get away. He went to the movies to try to get away from this. Let me just go somewhere in public where I'm not around people. And then he would be sit down. And then spirit of compassion would start telling him every single person in the movie theater what was going on with them. And then with every person on the screen, every actor on the screen, he would say, "Oh, this actor has this and this person has that." And he was like, "Oh my God, enough already. Can you please go away?" And it was overwhelming. So he got to a point where he started sharing, telling people what he was hearing, because it was just, but like some people were really open and some people were like, hey, get away from me. Don't tell me this stuff. And so he had to learn what was okay and what not to say. How many of you can relate to that? What's okay to say and not to say? How many people are like, yes, please tell me, I'm looking for help, and get the hell away from me. like I've already had I'm already trying to go with my issue. I can't hear any more points of view. Like, stop telling me, or I don't want to know, or whatever. Right. So he was getting shut down. So he had to learn who he could talk to and who was not okay to talk to, and where it was invited. Finally, by the age of, so then at age 12, he climbed up on, I think he climbed up on top of this tree, and he just pleaded with God. He got as close as he thought he could to wherever the spirit was, wherever God was. He climbed up to the top of the tree, and he said, please, 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 stop this, take it away. Like, I don't want to hear this anymore. I just want to be a kid. I just want to play. I just want to be able to be normal, And I can't remember what the response was. You can read the book and find out. But at the age of 13, he started working at a market where he was he was actually a stock boy, but he started actually telling people, diagnosing people and treating people in this grocery store. And then he started giving them celery juice. That was 1975. So he started telling everyone to have celery juice, somewhere around there. Anyway, so he started telling people about celery juice, and he was squeezing celery juice, and they were like buying so much celery juice. The store clerk was like, oh my God, the owner was like, I've never bought had so many celery juice, so much celery orders ever. And so anyway, he continued for the next couple of years. And then he started working for a car shop, and he actually was even able, I'm pretty sure this is true, that I think what I remember is that he was even able to diagnose what was wrong with cars. He was able to tell the people in the shop what was going wrong with the cars, but he was also telling the people in the shop what was wrong with them. And they didn't really, some of them liked that, some of them didn't. So that was where he was still going through this process. At the age of 17, he fell in love with his present wife. And this is where you have to read the book. He had a very, very traumatic experience where he lost his dog, who was drowning in the ocean. And this is where he had his moment, where he made a deal with God. He was like, please save my dog. He went into the ocean, and he was trying to save his dog, who was drowning. He was almost drowning. His dog was deep down, and he said, please, God, how could you be so mean? Save my damn dog. How can you save all these people, but you can't save my dog? Help me. You've got to help me. Please, if anything, come now. And God said, look, Spirit of Compassion said, look, if you would be willing to just share this information with the world and teach, I'll help your dog. I will save your dog. And he was just like, oh, he's like, okay, please, all right, whatever, yes, okay, fine, I promise I will teach everything you're telling me to the world, and then some. And so God wrapped his dog in this bubble of light, and he watched his dog come to the surface, and his dog lived. So he saved his dog, and his journey began. So then he was committed. He was finally on board. Do you ever have when a person finally says, okay, I swear, have you had that moment? Some of you have been so sick, you're like, anything, just tell me what to do, God. I feel like that's what Purium was for me. It was like, save my life. I'll do anything for this, And so that was his turning point. And then from then on, he was finally welcoming the voices. He finally just started, teaching this information. So here's another thing that happened. He would sometimes need a break from people, because being around people is just a bombardment. So if you wonder why he's not really in public much, well, you don't see him in large crowds on stage, because he's going to get bombarded with all this information. So, such an intense download. And one thing that started happening was he would just go into nature, and he would just try to relax. I'm just going to take a break. I'm going to lie down in this beautiful pasture. And so he started taking breaks in nature and resting. Well, guess what happened? Then pretty soon, Spirit of Compassion started saying, Oh, hawthorn, this is great for cancer. Oh, nettles, this is great for the liver. And so then he started getting the download over all the nutrition and all the information that would help people. And he started learning what every single plant could help with, every single thing in nature, and how this could help him help others. So here we go with this download from nature. Okay, so that's the story in the nutshell. There's so much more. Please read the book. It's powerful. You'll still cry. Even though I told you the story, you're going to still cry when you hear it, when you actually read it. It's so much more in depth because it's, it takes like an hour to read the chapter. So it's that much information. That's the first book, Medical Medium. It's called Medical Medium with the picture of the x-ray chest. Okay. So let's get into this. What is he actually teaching? So I'm going to tell you another story. Why I began getting into medical medium and why I began believing. So as some of you know, I had about a few years into Purium, my ex-boyfriend who I had dated 20 years previous came into the scene. He was very sick. I know why he came into my life. My life so sick was because I was supposed to get this information and help others. A lot of you saw him spend a year with me, and I spent every waking moment of my life just trying to figure out how to help him. He called me on the phone. He said, I'm homeless. I'm living in a tent with my dog. I can barely move. And I don't even know how to get through the next day. He had gastroparesis. He had, I can't remember the name of the word. It's another kind of itis. It's another another organ that was basically on the verge of cancer. He was diabetic. His numbers were like 400. His blood sugar was like through the roof. He was underweight. He was 60 pounds underweight. He was he was having seizures 6 times in a row. When I got this call, I finally went and picked him up. I just said, I'm coming to get you right now. I don't know what we're gonna do with you, but I'm just gonna come get you. I went and I saw he was living in this mud, in this muddy tent, and he was far from any bathroom and far from any kitchen. Like, how was this guy supposed to live? And so I said, I took him to the hospital. He had 6 to 8 seizures on the way to the hospital. And then they just got him on morphine and all kinds of drugs, and we have everything, insulin, all that stuff. And I took him to my house, and I was like, what am I going to do with you? And somebody said, why don't you check out Medical Medium? Well, I started with Purium. First, I started with giving him the Purium shakes, the power shakes, which he liked. And it started, and they were helping him, and he started wanting to drink them all the time. And then I started reading Medical Medium 24/7 because someone had suggested Celery Juice. So I started giving him Celery Juice, and I started reading the Medical Medium books. I read all these books. I listened to all of his podcasts. I haven't actually finished all these books linearly, but I have plowed through all of them. And the first one I read 2 or 3. I read 2.5 times the first book. I said, this is going to sound really strange, but we're going to take you off of all fats, and we're going to give you a all potato diet. Now, most people would say you don't ever give people who are diabetic potatoes, but I did. And what happened? His blood sugar came down. His blood sugar started coming down with the Purium, doing fruits all day and potatoes. I would do fruits and potatoes. And he was able to finally gain 20 pounds back and have his insulin come down. He was also doing the super aminos. He was also doing, the basic Purium Protocol, the daily core 4. I started on the daily core 4 because I didn't want him to detox too fast. All right. But this was his lifestyle. And he was able to drop his insulin quite substantially within 2 weeks. So long story short is eventually he got better enough. He was able to get out of my house. He was there for a year, and eventually he was able to go, and he wanted to go live at a homeless shelter because he was lonely. He wanted to be around people. So he went to a homeless shelter, and God bless him, he did end up dying of pneumonia. And it was quite possibly even COVID because it was the very beginning. And and he got a cough and then died very shortly after that, within 2 weeks. So long story short is, however, it was because of that I totally got interested in medical medium and helped him through that year with the medical medium protocol in conjunction with Purium, and watched him get better enough to be able to start walking. He was in a wheelchair. So now let's talk about, I'm going to tell you the very most basic things you can know about what medical medium says, okay? It's so basic that you can memorize this. And once you have this outline, you'll be able to expand upon this based on this outline. There are pathogens, and I'm going to tell you what the pathogens are, but there are pathogens, and then there's what feeds the pathogens and what kills the pathogens. That's the basic thing you need to know about everybody's health. It's a myth that, this is all medical medium information, it is a myth that the body attacks itself. That is a theory that was never proven, that the body attacks itself. I can understand how people came up with that theory because, whatever, we're reaching. I'm not going to go into that. We're going to talk about what the pathogens are. I'm going to outline what are the pathogens. I'm going to outline what feeds the pathogens that we have to eliminate from our diet, and what kills the pathogens, which include our superfoods. Okay, those are the 3 basic things you need to know for all diseases across the board. Okay, so what are pathogens? Pathogens are viruses, bacteria, parasites. Okay, did I leave anything out? Those are the 3 that I'm remembering right now: viruses, bacteria, and parasites. So viruses include Epstein-Barr virus is the most common one. All right, so Hashimoto's is what I suffered from. That is an expression of Epstein-Barr virus. I start off with eczema, which is Epstein-Barr virus. So eczema is usually the early version of Epstein-Barr virus. And then as it progresses, and then I got rid of my eczema doing superfoods, spirulina and a bunch of stuff. And then later in life, I got Hashimoto's, which most people who get eczema later get Hashimoto's. So that's the later expression of Epstein-Barr virus. Epstein-Barr virus is a herpetic virus, herpes. There's also HHV6, HHV10, HHV, and on and it goes. Okay, so there's a ton of different expressions of the herpetic viruses. There's also shingles. Okay, so things like ALS, Hashimoto's, thyroid issues, eczema, psoriasis, these are all usually like Epstein-Barr viruses. And then you've got things like, oh, sorry, actually, I'm not going to tell you which is which. It doesn't matter. I don't really know, but I don't want to say it wrong. But we've also got Streptococcus is another virus. So acne is an expression of strep. Okay. And we're going to talk about how those things end up showing up the way they do. So other pathogens are bacteria. So examples of bacteria that show up for Lyme disease. So Lyme disease is associated with bacterial infections. Bartonella, Babesia, Borrelia are 3 of the main bacterial infection, bacteria that can proliferate and become an infection. However, Lyme is really a chronic, the expression of Lyme, the symptoms of Lyme are really viral infections. And viruses cause neurological symptoms. And that's because viruses, when they poop neurotoxins. Viruses feed and then they give off neurotoxins. Mold is another. Sorry, is it a pathogen? Mold anything, any toxins in the body. It's going to amplify any symptoms in the body. So mold. All right, so the pathogens, viruses, bacteria, parasites, mold, and then we named the viruses, Epstein-Barr, different herpes viruses, shingles, Streptococcus, strep. How many people have had strep many times in their life? The other thing is that the reason these viruses have become super viruses is because of antibiotics. And so these super viruses have begun to proliferate and have gotten really, really big over the years. So we didn't have these things in the 1800s. We didn't have huge issues with all the different viruses that we're seeing today.
Yeah, we freaking died. Before antibiotics, we just died.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying antibiotics are bad. Yeah, we died, but you know, we also had, you know, there was also like in the Philippines, my family, my grandmother was a family doctor, and so she was prescribing herbs, right? So she was an herbalist, and so herbs were like how, you know, in other cultures and other countries, people survived. So I'm not saying there's no purpose for antibiotics. I definitely do believe that sometimes we need antibiotics. But yeah, it definitely has caused, there have been antibiotics are overused and not always necessary. And so here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about celery juice kills, what it does is the sodium cluster salts in celery juice actually destroy the cell membranes of the virus. And so that is one of the reasons celery juice is so useful. Viruses feed, all pathogens, basically viruses feed off of metals. Okay, so metals is the food for pathogens. All right, we want to think of like metals is a huge food for viruses. It's really important to kill the viruses, but it's also important to eliminate sources of metal. If you're watching what your cookware is, you gotta be careful of what you cook on. And you also want to remove toxic heavy metals. You want to like get rid of toxic heavy metals. Okay, so toxic heavy metals: mercury, copper, aluminum. Mercury is the most prolific of all the metals. The mercury industry is huge. So what removes metals? Spirulina. Here's what happens is like lemon water first thing in the morning can lift metals up. And then you do 20 minutes later, you can do celery juice, which also helps lift the metals up. And then you have add the spirulina, and you do like a metal detox smoothie that has the spirulina and the barley green juice. And this is, and a few other things. And these things actually extract the metals. Okay. So, chlorella, this is all medical medium, okay? So either you believe it or you don't, but chlorella is actually will pick up heavy metals, but put them down somewhere else. So they don't necessarily get it all the way out of the body. That's why David Sandoval recommends having, doing the fulvic zeolite, because the fulvic zeolite helps extract it the rest of the way. So the spirulina does remove heavy metals all the way out. Spirulina is a heavy metal detox. Cilantro also removes heavy metals. And so that's part of this heavy metal smoothie detox that the medical medium does. I do it every morning. In fact, it's right over there. I forgot to drink it. It's over there sitting. But I'm metal detox using the Purium spirulina and the Purium barley green juice powder. And then also the removing the, and then also has bananas, oranges, and then wild blueberries are really important as well. That's a really important. And I can send you guys, I can put, somebody can actually post, if they know the metal detox, they can post it, they can copy and paste it into the chat there. Because I definitely share this with the team pretty regularly. So heavy metals feed viruses and pathogens. And then the foods that feed them are number one, eggs, gluten, dairy, pesticides and herbicides, all right, glyphosate, and fungicides. So these are the things that we need to get out of our regular eating. And this is one of the reasons why the Purium Protocol works, is because we remove all those things. And what else do we have? We have something that removes herbicides, that reduces the glyphosate in our system, and that is the biometic, right? So the biometic removes herbicide 75% in 6 weeks, okay? That's why that's so important. My guess is that it also removes pesticides, but we haven't tested for that yet. So we're removing toxic heavy metals and we're avoiding toxic heavy metals. There is a cookware that Medical Medium recommends, and I think it's called Healthy Earth or something. But you can find it on his blog. And then the foods. Okay, one of the foods that we haven't talked about is fats. So fat, oils, no matter if you're vegan or plant animal eating ever, animal fats, you can't separate the protein from the fats. They're just going to be in there. Same with nuts, right? So what fats do is they cause the metals to oxidize. So it's basically rusting the metals that are in your body. So if you have metals in your body, fats are going to cause them to rust. It's going to cause a runoff, and now you got problems. Celery juice can also help remove that runoff. It's another reason why celery juice is so important. So fats cause our bodies to also dump adrenaline. The other thing that helps reduce pathogens is resting. This is why Stephanie is so adamant about self-care. Self-care and rest has been one of the biggest, most important part of her recovery from cancer. Resting, meditations, finding ways to relax the system, lessen the story in the mind, reduce the talk in the mind, and reduce the fear in the mind when we're sick. Like, fear is a huge adrenaline booster. We need to reduce the adrenaline dump. So adrenaline causes the body, adrenaline feeds toxins in the body. It's food for toxins. Adrenaline feeds toxins, so we need to reduce adrenaline. What causes adrenaline dumping in the body besides stress? Anyone guess? What makes you all like amped? What's something that makes you amped besides stress?
Coffee, caffeine.
Coffee, caffeine. Okay. So caffeine causes an adrenaline dump. Guess what else causes an adrenaline dump? You guys probably haven't thought of this. Falling in love. What? Falling in love is a big adrenaline dump. You better be your celery juice and your Purium smoothies every single day if you're falling in love, okay? And stress, absolutely. Stress. So stress, reducing caffeine, and reducing toxins. So I don't mean to get controversial here, but I will just tell you what he says about coffee enemas. That is the quickest way to get caffeine into your system, is coffee enemas. And it doesn't have the slowdown of the stomach, the barrier of the stomach to slow it down. So why do people feel so good? I used to do coffee enemas and I felt great because I just had a shot of caffeine, right? So just something to think about. He also says that coffee, caffeine can cause a reverse heartbeat, and that's why some people actually have die and then nobody knows why. That sometimes people can die and you don't know why. I had a friend who was a big coffee drinker who was 50, was super fit, healthy, was skiing on a ski trip, and at age 50 he dropped dead and no one knew why. So no coffee on the cleanse is another reason why people feel amazing. Okay. What else have we got here? Raw water. If water's been boiled, it's not hydrated. So if you want to hydrate your body, drink water that's raw, and lemon is very helpful for hydrating the body. Also helpful is our the the coconut, what is it? The pineapple cocoa hydrate, Purium's pineapple cocoa hydrate. And by the way, our greens, all the greens and the herbs that are in our shakes. There's also alfalfa leaf. There's also sprouted, like in the love shake, there's also sprouted broccoli, which also helps repair leaky gut. There's a lot of things in there. It also has spirulina and it has barley green juice powder in it, all of our shakes, or those 2 shakes that come with the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation. Those things are also going to help reduce metals, and it's also going to boost the immune system or enhance immune system. Why do some people break their backs? Why do some people break their backs and then they so this happened to my sister's husband, okay? So he was in a car accident, had major back injury, and his doctor said, you need to start drinking green drinks with like abundant amount of nutrition. It slowed down, it lowered the amount of pathogens in his body so that his nerve pain reduced, and then he was pain-free. So he still had back damage, but yet he was pain-free. So it's interesting that I found a video where medical medium talked about that and said, yeah, you know, pain, you know, is nerve pain is what we're worried about, right? Nerve pain is what we're worried about, is inflammation. And so we need to reduce the pathogens that are causing that nerve inflammation. Okay. Scar tissue, cysts, tumors, things like this. This is the body taking calcium and trying to wrap the viruses in something to contain them. So the body is like trying to contain viruses. And so it's creating these little scar tissues around the viruses, pathogens. I'm going to say pathogens because pathogens is, you know, several things. It's not just viruses. Okay. So again, it's important to be avoiding the foods that feed it and eating the foods that kill it, that kill these. So, you know, not all protocols are the same because things have different expressions in the body, like depending on what kind of metals. So like, why would someone have eczema or another person would have psoriasis? Why would you have eczema, not psoriasis? Why is it one or the other? Well, this has to do with the amount of copper. This has to do with which kind of metal are in the system, right? And then some people are going to have different kinds of viruses. So depending on how much you have of one kind of thing is going to express itself differently. Let's see, there's something I wanted to share with you guys about. So I'm wondering if Nova would feel comfortable sharing your story about acne real quick, because that's an example of cysts, and that's an example, like cystic acne is the same thing. It's like the viral load trying to be protected with the body wrapping scar tissue around it, wrapping like, you know, calcium around it. Okay, cool. Come on off mute and share your story a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel. This is a beautiful topic, and I really appreciate the breakdown. So yeah, when I was really struggling with acne, I mean, it was really bad. It was cystic, painful, all over my face and under my chin and my jawline as well. And I had tried so many different protocols for eating and was really not getting too far with it. And so the 2 things that I used personally that brought my skin to this clarity, I'm not wearing any makeup right now. And it also healed using the Purium, as well as Combo as another medicine that I worked with, which is an antiviral, antifungal, and antiparasitic. So that was a lot of what healed my acne. Purium itself also did. My first 10-day transformation, I saw a huge difference with my acne, and my skin cleared quite a bit. The combo helped go even deeper for the pathogenic load like you were discussing. But I think what's really exciting personally about my acne healing story is that my skin now is really, really in good condition. It's very smooth, it's supple. And for someone who had extreme acne like I did, you would normally see, even if their skin was clear, you would normally have a ton of pock marks and scars all over the face. And I have almost zero scarring because I was using the combo and the Purium combined. And so I was not only cleansing and detoxing the body, but also feeding myself that cellular nutrition. So you could see the skin was regrowing, and I have almost no visible scars to this day. I still do struggle a little bit with breakouts around my hormonal time. But I've never had my skin this clear before. And the Biomedic was also a huge, huge part of that. When we were working with the Purium before the Biomedic came out, that was amazing. But then as soon as the Biomedic came out, I saw that make even more of a difference, like literally an overnight difference. Did I add any extras other than the 10-day? Yes. Kamut wheatgrass was recommended to me. And I added a lot of kamut to my power shakes. And you can also use the kamut as a mask, which is a really beautiful mask as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I love the kamut powder. That's our Jurassic grass, one of my favorite products. That was the product that actually Amy Venner took for her cystic acne. She was the co-founder of Purium, and that was the first product she took. David Sandoval said, "Hey, I noticed that you have acne," and she was just mortified. This cute guy's asking her if she has acne. He's like, "Oh, it looks like you have acne." And she's like, "Yes, it's so noticeable." And then he's like, "I have something that can help you." And then he tells her about kamut, and she did that, and her acne went away. So, yay, awesome. What else was there was something I was going to say. I would like for you to all kind of, if you guys have questions, just post them in the chat. If you have specific questions that I might be able to answer.
I have a question.
Sure.
Just personally, Tel has a great one about cysts too. We should go into that too. Personally, I was wondering about what would you recommend for just a simple starting point? Because I bought the medical medium, I think it was the liver detox book, and was listening to it on audio. And I just know so many people had amazing results. But for me, where I was coming from, I had already been trying so many different things. And then it was this whole new list of food rules and these, very specific regimens and protocols. And it was just a little overwhelming for where I was at the time. And I'm curious if there's somebody, like, what would you recommend for somebody for just getting started? Like, what's the most important basics, if you could kind of pare it down and simplify?
Well, it's really interesting because one of the things I was going to say next was that the Purium Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation is the gateway. This is the easiest way to do as close to possible medical medium protocol without having to juice and doing all the difficult things. So for me, I think that this is the first step, is the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation is the easiest first step. So a person will have a schedule. It tells them, eliminate these basic foods, which I mentioned, because when we do the Purium protocol, we eliminate all the things that are the major aggravators: eggs, dairy, gluten, etc., soy, corn, those things. So these are also, soy and corn are also on medical medium's list of aggravators for any kind of toxin or any kind of illness. So I say, like, the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation helps people get off those certain foods, and then it also is flooding their bodies with the spirulina, the barley green juice, all the different herbs and all the different wonderful things, plus the plant-based aminos. Because what people worry a lot about their protein. Where am I going to get my protein? They're not really sure if that's okay. And so, well, here, now you can have plant-based protein. It doesn't have to get digested. Medical medium is a big fan of different aminos. He talks about them regularly in this book. He says aminos are really important, specifically the L-lysine is especially helpful for conquering strep and Epstein-Barr. And so those are part of our super amino complex that's in there. Okay, so I think that this is the simplest way to get started. And if anyone's wanting super simple, now when people are really ill, you know, you always also have to worry about the die-off of toxins, that those things can also be too much for a person to handle. All the neurotoxins, it's like if they don't have anything to kind of catch those. So this is why I'm a big fan of starting off with if they're doing the ULT, to start off with doing the daily core 4 for a while, so they get used to that, so their body can slowly adjust. It's not sudden, and then gradually building up, and then having them work with their doctor. Now, doctors don't understand what this is. They're not, my doctor looked at my dad's super aminos and said, oh, stop taking this. He didn't even know what it was. I'm like, hello, this is like good for diabetes. What are you talking about? You know, so doctors, but we have to be in compliance, and we have to be, you know, we have to be careful because we want our company to continue. And so we have to not make medical claims, and we have to be very careful. So I always say, give this protocol to your doctor, have them look at the protocol so they know that what you're taking, so they can guide you along the way. If you need to titrate off of medications, they will help you. That's not my job. You need to work with your doctor to titrate off medications. If you're on medications, like as Purium, we're supposed to say, hey, if you're on medications, you got to talk to your doctor. This is for people who are not on medications. This is for people who are healthy, right? So people who are, you know, if are on, it's up to themselves if they're on medications. Like they have to know that information and work with their doctors. That's legally how we have to do it. But I'm not sure if I answered your question. Was that helpful?
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Purium is such a great start. And then the daily core 4 is a great way to kind of segue. I'll get you in a minute, Tal. And then the daily core 4 is a great way to segue into the lifestyle. And you can combine that with medical medium. Honestly, my weight was yo-yoing until I actually started the medical medium lifestyle in conjunction with Purium. Once I was doing Purium with the medical medium lifestyle, my weight stayed the same ever since then. For the last few years, my weight has stayed the same with this medical. I stopped yo-yoing because I was kind of going up and down. It was because as soon as I was done with the ultimate lifestyle transformation, I would go back to nuts and meat, right? Or whatever. And it's like, that was not working because I needed to reduce the fats in my life, and I didn't understand that piece. And so once I reduced the fats, my body started, you know, I started having like kind of like steadiness. Potato myth. Let's just get rid of the fear of sugar, the fear of sugar, the fear of fruit sugar, the fear of fruit, the fear of carbs, the fear of potatoes. Like these things are amazing for us. These things are helpful for the gut. They have a helpful probiotic. All the skins of all of our fruits and vegetables have a helpful probiotic on the outside. It's that natural probiotic that our body takes, that our body can assimilate, that they can get through our digestive tract. So pears are really important for digestive health. Potatoes are actually very helpful for digestive health. And papaya, really great for digestion. So these are like 3 great things for digestion. And if anyone's struggling, like these are great superfoods to recommend for people on the protocol if they're having specific issues. So you say like, do your biomedic, do your protocol, and also make sure that you get these good and you know, fat causes insulin resistance. Okay, now this is said by medical medium and doctors. Fats cause insulin resistance. Dr. Morse will tell you that. Dr. Neil Bernard will tell you that. Medical medium will tell you that. In fact, I saw medical medium do a whole interview with a doctor where they were both on citing where medical medium was saying what Spirit of Compassion was saying, and the doctor was saying what medical science says, and that's what it says. And so it's really, if we want to not worry about our blood sugar, we've got to reduce the fats. Now, the monk fruits and the stevia that are in some of the shakes, those are helpful for balancing blood sugar. Okay, those are also helpful, like actually help with balancing blood sugar. Okay, Tal, your question.
Cysts. I know you're not a doctor, but is there anything that medical medium, I mean, you did just bring up the fact that the cysts and tumors are the body taking viruses and creating tissue around them to hold on to those viruses. So is there anything that he recommends to break down?
Here's what I'm going to do. So now this is the part of the Zoom where I'm going to empower you. And everyone who has a question, what I want you to do is I want you to type in cysts. I want you to go to Google and type in cysts, medical medium. And I want you to read that article really quick. And then I want you to tell us. And this is what I want to empower all of you to do. If you're on a connect call and you're like, I want to get the medical medium perspective of this person we're talking to right now, I'm going to type in cysts and I'm going to type in medical medium. Let's just see what it says. So I can maybe use this perspective to help this person. Okay. Who else has a question? And there's a lot of different wonderful herbs. Like lentil is one of the most important healing herbs to have. Zinc is the most important. We have zinc aid that is super important. Zinc kills viruses, like really, really kills viruses. And so zinc is really important. That's why Dave Sandoval brought it in right now during this, pandemic, is we need to have zinc in our bodies. When you can do zinc shock therapy, you can do vitamin C is really important. We have vitamin C. We have the natural vitamin C that's made from actual fruit and so forth. And this is like a healthy vitamin C. It's not ascorbic acid. Okay, it's actual vitamin C. All right, what other questions? Let me look in the chat and see if I missed something. I haven't looked in there for a while. Yeah, make sure that dried fruit doesn't have added sugar. Dried fruit is totally good. It's great for you. Eat the papaya seeds. And John McDougall taught you all about potatoes. Awesome. It's the foundation of his entire program. So believe it or not, potatoes and bananas also have aminos. All right. So these are great protein foods. These are great foods for, you can get your plant-based protein from foods as well. But the super aminos, obviously, everyone knows that is the thing that gives us the most energy, which I absolutely love. Any other questions? We're doing pretty good. I'm surprised we got this far. I'm going to talk to you about autism. I think this is pretty important. So, autism and mercury specifically. Now, mercury causes a lot of different issues. But people who are on the autistic spectrum, basically metal, I'm on the spectrum, so I'm speaking for myself. Okay, I'm going to speak for myself. Metals have gotten into our brains, all right? And there's a little place in our brains that metals can get into when we're young. And if we don't get those metals out by the age 18, that part of the brain seals off, and then it's harder to get the metals out because it's like sealed and it's hard to get in there and get those metals out. So it's really important for children to be drinking their power shakes and getting these metals out of their bodies at an early age and helping to calm. All right. So people who have anxiety, often it's heavy metals. People have constipation, heavy metals. Okay. These are all symptoms of metals in the body. Anxiety, constipation, autism. Now, there's a lot of backlash because some people will feel very protective, oh, my autism, people feel guilty. Like, I didn't give my kid autism. We're not saying that. But one thing that a medical medium talks about that's very interesting in his first book is that our great, great, great grandmothers back in the day were told to drink Quicksilver. Who's heard of Quicksilver? You may have heard of Quicksilver before? Just heard that term before? Quicksilver? It's a famous word, Quicksilver. What is Quicksilver? It's mercury water. So this was seen to be something that could help women. The doctors started giving this to women to help us. What? And then what happened? Women started going crazy. And so then they were called, so then it's like, oh, you're like, I forget, hysterical. Women started getting, so then this is the whole concept of hysteria came into the picture from mercury water. So pretty soon it became clear that mercury was toxic. And so doctors were called quacks. Doctors started being called quacks because of mercury water. It's Quicksilver. Now, what happens? Women, our poor great grandmothers who were fed this toxic water, mercury, now have mercury in their system. Well, what happens when they have a baby? In their womb, there's mercury. That mercury can get passed on to their baby in the womb. All right. And so through the lineage of women, we can pass on mercury to our children. It's not our fault. No one meant to. No one's a bad person. But knowing this, we can start to remove mercury and detox and make sure people are detoxing before they get pregnant. There's other ways we can get metals. Pots and pans. Who cooks on, what are they called? Cast iron skillets. Cast iron skillets. Who uses cast iron skillets? This is something that can definitely, all of the loose particles of iron can like get into our food. Well, guess what? Our bodies can't necessarily break down all that kind of iron and turn it into the right kind of iron. There's ferric iron and there's ferrous iron. I forget which one our body needs. Our body needs one, and the metals in the cookware is another. So this is kind of a myth that has been shared and brought down. We all want to have, like, I have my grandmother's cast iron skillet. I'm like, I want to use this forever. This was my grandmother's cast iron skillet. This is how she did it. It's like, it's almost medicinal, just the concept of having like a lineage thing. Like, this was like passed on from my grandmother, you know. No one's bad, no one's again. It's just like we need to detox that iron. Okay, my friend Isis, a dear friend of mine, had lymphatic cancer. Her doctor tested her, and she had higher iron. He said, "You got to stop. Are you using cast iron skillets?" She said, "Yes." He said, "You've got to throw those out. You got to stop using your cast iron. This is giving you cancer." She did the Gershwin diet. She did just carrot juice for 90 days and cured her lymphatic cancer. Just carrot juice for 90 days. She was orange. But it worked. Okay, she got rid of her skillets and detoxed for 90 days. Medical medium does talk about mono diets. There are mono diets. You can do all grapes. Stephanie did that for a little while. She did the grape diet. How was that, Stephanie, doing your grape diet?
I had a whole month on fruit, 3 weeks on fruit, and 1 week on grapes. I also did the medical mediums. I think it was medical medium, 10 days on apples. I've done so many things. This was before the cancer diagnosis, but it was like a super hot summer month in Los Angeles, and it was really easy to do fruit when it's really hot out. I did it with Purium too. Like, I'd make smoothies and I'd add in the kamut, the spirulina, the barley grass juice. I found a way to get my greens in, but yeah, I recommend it. This is what I love about what I've learned from medical medium and other practitioners, health practitioners, is that we do not need to fear fruit, not at all. And I now love to create mono meals of just fruit, like a big plate of pineapple or a big plate of watermelon, or, whatever I have in the house, and I'll just have a meal of just fruit. So I just want to break that down just a little bit, because this is what sealed the deal for me, was when I was at Hope for Cancer Mexico, and Dr. Tony Jimenez, who's the doctor who founded that anti-cancer treatment center, he defined it this way: refined sugar molecules spin one way, fruit molecules spin another way. Cancer likes refined sugar molecules. Okay. It leaves the fruit sugars alone. All right. There you go.
Dude, dropping wisdom right there. Thank you for that. That was perfect. That leads me into Candida. So what is Candida actually? Candida is actually a bacteria that is a friendly bacteria that actually eats all the harmful pathogens. It actually eats the harmful bacteria. So when people have elevated Candida levels, it means that those Candidas are at work. They're your friends trying to help kill things off. But it's an indicator that you do need to kill pathogens, okay? How did I get introduced to medical medium? The very first time I got introduced to medical medium before my ex, Christoph, was I had a girlfriend who I worked with at the Dhyana Center, which is an Ayurvedic school that we both were, helping co-teach, we were assisting our teacher. And she had struggled with Candida the whole time, and she was trying to find solutions through school and going to school and everything, just like I was. And long story short is, one day I saw her like a couple years later after we were done with school, and she said, and I said, "How are you?" And she said, I'm over my Candida. I'm totally healthy now." And I said, "Wow, what did you do?" And she goes, "Well, I followed the medical medium protocol." And I go, "What's that?" And she said, "Well, you've never heard of him?" And then she told me about him, and she said, "Well, I just ate nothing but fruit. I did just fruit for 6 months and I cured my Candida." And I was like, what? I thought you weren't supposed to do fruit if you have Candida. I thought the wrong thing to do. She's like, nope, it's the right thing. And I said, wow, that's when everything started to turn for me and started going like, I started undoing all of my beliefs around everything, started changing at that moment. I'm like, okay, that's amazing. So, and Nova says I cure Candida with fruit too. There you go. Amazing. So again, fruit is our friend. All right. So, I know I've said a lot. The very last thing, two things I'm going to talk about: cacao, and I'm going to talk about painful digestion with vegetables. So first I'm going to talk about cacao. So cacao is a neurotoxin. Now, I'm not saying people can't eat your chocolate. You can have your chocolate and have, it's a little bit of caffeine and it's a little bit of neurotoxin. But for people with autism, like, I highly don't recommend the Epigenius kids. I recommend they do the power shake and they do the biomedic, and that they do and that they follow a medical medium protocol to reduce to do like those heavy metal smoothies and things like that. So I have been reducing cacao. I've been like taking chocolate out of my diet for the last year, and I've actually succeeded for the majority. I do eat chocolate chip cookies now and then. That's my downfall, but I'm working on eliminating it completely from my diet. Some people are fine. So, if you want to like continue with your chocolate and you're like, I love my cacao ceremonies and all that stuff. Hey, I'm not saying it's wrong or bad. I'm just giving you information that neurotoxins, there's certain people you really don't want to recommend this for. Okay. So now pain. So some people are like, oh my gosh, I can't eat vegetables. It hurts so much. My stomach's so bad. It must be bad for me. Now, because it's painful doesn't mean it's bad for you. Okay. So what it means is that you might have intestines that are inflamed, nerve pain. And of course, things like lettuce and vegetables are going to have hard edges and they can hurt going through. So guess what is a great remedy for that? How can people get vegetables without having the hard edges? Hello? What's the answer? Our Purium shakes. Is that what you're going to say? I'm like,
Juicing.
Tanya?
Juicing.
Juicing. Purium shakes. Juicing. Yes. Again, liquid form of vegetables. So we have something that is so wonderful that people can enjoy and they're not going to have that kind of pain. All right. We can help alleviate that symptom. Allergies. There are people who have allergies to things like spirulina, and they are rare and far and few between. And it is sad, and I'm sorry that they have those allergies. However, sometimes people think they have an allergy when really what they're experiencing is detox symptoms. It's hard to say. I can't tell a person, yes, it is an allergy, or no, it's not an allergy, but it is just good to be aware that sometimes people think they have allergies and they're actually responding to the detox. Okay. The neurotoxins again can come out, you can up. And so a lot of times people this is one of the reasons why it's so important people don't just go buy their ultimate lifestyle transformation on Amazon, because they're not going to have the support of us who can help them along the way understand what's happening in their bodies, so that we can tell them like, hey, pain, you might have some detox symptoms like headaches, or you might feel a little nauseous, or you might feel a little this or that. So just be aware. A lot of some of the hate that people get either on Amazon towards Purium, which is not supposed to be sold on Amazon anyway, that's illegal. But even Anthony Williams might get some hate mail. It's again, like, people have detox in Lyme disease. When people are recovering from Lyme, they call it the Herxheimer reaction, aka what else they call it? Like I don't remember, but there's Herxheimer reaction. Oh, it's called the healing crisis. And that is when, and so I know that with eczema, I had the same experience. It got worse before it got better. It got flakier and drier. And I had pictures in the book that showed me it's going to look worse. It's going to look like this before it gets better. So, we have to learn when to stick with it. Okay. But there are truly some people who are allergic to garlic or allergic to, something on the protocol. And we just have to be mindful of that. And I always support people like, hey, if you're concerned, go to the doctor. If you're concerned, call 911. If you're having an emergency, call 911, period. Always. I'm not gonna, we have to rule things out. So we are basically at the end of the hour, totally went overboard. I'd love to hear some takeaways really quick. And I think I covered everything I wanted to cover today. I'm so surprised. Share some something you're like didn't know before? Or that you knew before that you're excited about that other people can know? What are some things that you like about this? Were you gonna go, Tanya? You looked like you came off mute for a second. Oh, okay. And someone else? Lake? You look like you were maybe gonna say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I wasn't familiar with the history, like the background story of medical medium. And what really got me into him was his viewpoints on apple cider vinegar. It really clicked for me. And I was like, whoa, okay, I have to pay attention to this person. So it's been really cool to hear his background story. So I definitely want to dig deeper and get some new books. So this is
Thank
great.
you. And I didn't even have time to go into that. I forgot about that. But apple cider vinegar, vinegars pickle the liver, all vinegars. They pickle the liver. And it's not a great idea to have that. The thing he says about things like fermented foods is that they are on top of dead things, that they are not actually creating probiotics that our body uses. Our body doesn't actually even use those kinds of probiotics, things like kombucha, things like fermented, things like kimchi, and all the different ferments. Like, yeah, you can look under a microscope and see probiotics on them, but they aren't actually the ones that our body uses. So he's saying they're not really like useful. So that's just something to consider. That said, I still do have kimchi sometimes. I still have things sometimes that have apple cider vinegar in it. I try to avoid it, or even any vinegar. I've always avoided vinegar, but I never, but then I got into the apple cider vinegar movement. Thought, oh, I guess it's okay. So yeah, thank you. Any other people? Anybody else share something?
I thought it was nice to just have the categories of pathogens, what feed them and what kills them. Like I like when it's like, a concise list that makes sense and like how it works. Cause that's what you want to know, I don't want to feed the bad stuff and I want to kill them. And I wanted to ask you too, if when you said mold that includes the fungus.
No, I would say they were different.
Yeah, because I put my list.
Fungicides. He says fungicides is what is a food that feeds pathogens, and then as far as pathogens, then mold is its own category. I don't know. I'll look into fungus. I'll look into fungus though, but I mean, he doesn't have an issue with like mushrooms or things like that. So I will look and I will let you know what I come up with.
Yeah. To know, because there's also a thing about fungus, like a cancer cannot grow when there's no fungus because it actually uses fungus in order to survive. So that's something I read. So I don't know. It's
that might be why the medical industry might prescribe fungicides.
Yeah.
I don't, but which not good. Not good to have fungicides. Go ahead, Steph.
Yeah, I wanted to share that, it's just deepening for me, the specifics, which I always appreciate, that metals is a food for pathogens and viruses. So all the more reasons to get the metals out. This has been so key for me in terms of my own wellness, getting the metals out. And that hasn't stopped. I don't think I shared that as I was telling a story. I'm still focused on getting the metals out. I still have a lot of work to do to heal my eye. I do believe that I can completely heal my eye. The lost vision and the optic nerve is sort of in a state of paralysis from the mercury. So I'm going to be doing the heavy metal detox again, probably not as religiously as I did for when there's great pain, there's great effort, right? So I don't have the migraines any longer, but I'm just as ever excited about the possibility of continuing to transform my body with these protocols. So getting the metals out is crucial for all of us, whether we have something that's manifested like migraines or even if we don't even know that we have metals in us. I know that we do, I just know that we do based on everything I learned from the medical medium about how metals get into the body. So Cleanse to Heal is just, they're all amazing books, but I really love that book because it's so broad. So if you're going to invest in one, I would do that, or I would do the updated, the first one, the blue one with the lungs.
Yeah. I wanted to just also mention too about the apothecary juice, because speaking of fruit, how that is like having 13 pieces of fruit, right? And you know, the whole thing about fruit is that actually one of the things that medical medium says is that if you want to heal your fertility, eat more fruit. He says like the fruit of the womb, just think of fruit of the womb, fruit for the womb. Like fruit for the womb. So that's like one of the most beneficial things you can do for your fertility. And so this is something just so interesting that we've gotten away from fruit, and we're, you know, people having more fertility problems. And anything else? Anybody else want to say something?
I want to share that, first of all, this is an amazing part one. I can't wait for part two. I'm totally down for medical medium and learning from you and Stephanie and just getting all of this drop in, and like I'm just an information sponge right now, and I'm totally in the realm and in the space for it, finally. And I want to say just a really simple tip that you gave is going to transform so much for me.
Ooh, what's that?
Simple tip. To open up my Google and type in cyst medical medium. I just typed in mango medical medium. Like I'm going to be like all over this, just going straight there, Googling, asking the question with medical mediums response. So I love that.
That's
Thank you so
epic.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what did you actually get? What was the response for cysts? What did you, what did you gather? Some basics, or just like one
Celery
concept?
juice. Celery juice, celery juice, celery juice. Yeah, so good luck in getting my 16-year-old to drink celery juice, but I'm going to find a way.
You might be better with cucumber juice, but yeah, celery juice.
We can add cucumbers to it, but definitely said celery juice is the number one. So we're gonna have a talk about that after school.
Thank you.
I have
Nova.
a quick question about that. I don't have a juicer, but I've been doing celery smoothies. Is that just as good? I know you can do a smoothie and then you can do like the cheesecloth.
It's really important.
You have to get it in the juice form.
You have to get the pulp out. It's really important because this celery juice is an herb. So if you think about how herbs are, like some herbs you need to have in a tea and you have to boil it. Well, celery juice has to have the pulp out and has to just be raw juice. You want to squeeze it through a cheesecloth and make sure it's completely by itself, not with other things. And it should be fresh. And to be honest, Dave Sandoval got really excited one time. He came to me one year and he said, "Oh my God, Rachel, like I found celery juice powder." And I was like, I hate to burst your bubble, but it's not the same because it's not going to have the cluster salt. It's not going to be fresh. And he was all, womp, you know, but yeah, so that idea came and went. So just, you know, we considered having celery juice powder for a moment. And I'm sorry, I put the nail in the coffin on that one, but I have to be true to what the information, you know.
Rach, one more thing. For those of you who do want to go whole hog into celery juice, you can find used and new and unlike new juicers on Offer Up and Let Go, those little apps.
Yes.
That's what I did way back when, before I bought the current juicer that I have now. The big industrial one for, you know, with the cancer diagnosis, I knew I was going to be juicing a ton, but I found one for $60. It was like originally retail like $200 a Breville. So they're out there. They are out there because people get excited and then they get off the bandwagon and then they don't use their juicer, then they sell it. So you can find them.
I got a free blend. I got a free Ninja on Offer Up. Free, totally works. I've been using it for like 2 years. And also you can go to Medical Medium. You type in medical and look at his blog. It'll have tons of all the kitchenware, including cookware. So there's really good cookware on there that I actually bought some nonstick ceramic cookware, and I did and Stephanie will be proud of me. I did the actual sodium test on it and it tasted okay. I was like, OMG. So anyway, any other things? I mean, if people want to jump off, feel free to jump off, but I'm going to stay on just because I think I want to make sure that we extract every last little morsel.
Well, sorry, just one more thing on the celery juice. So I've been using my Nutra blend, little tiny little
NutriBullet
thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But of course it keeps all the pulp in there. So has it just been like for naught? Should I just push it?
I mean, it's not. I mean, you're getting. I mean, if you're eating celery blended celery, then you're still getting fiber and you're getting lots of benefits, but you are not getting the main benefits of celery juice, which is specifically for the cyst, the antiviral part. You know, you just need it's not as, it just doesn't have the same medicinal value.
How much juice do you need in a day?
You want to have like 16 ounces.
Oh, wow. That's
So like in a mason jar, like this much of a mason jar.
a lot.
You
Okay.
can work your way up to that tall. I mean,
You can start with it.
Yeah,
I can do it. I'm worried about Sela. Sela's gonna be like, give me this much.
Yeah,
Anything
don't make her drink 16 ounces or she might, vomit. I mean, it's just like, it's baby steps, right? Like we don't want
Right.
to do that to people out of the gate. Like just maybe give her 10 ounces first. Go, honey, just drink this.
Yeah, teach her how to do
Especially
shots.
teenagers.
Teach her how to do shots. You guys can do kitchen shots.
Yeah.
You're
Increase
like, never
over
mind
time.
tequila. You're 16. Let's do celery shots.
Yeah, there's an evolution. You all know this. Most of you are Purium brand partners, and there's an evolution in terms of how it is that we grow into the protocols that we know are our optimal, nutrition. So be patient.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else? I'm so loving this. Like, I just want to get every question answered. I think you're right. I'm glad that you caught that, Tal. I think that's the most important thing I want you guys to take away from this is that you can just Google any ailment and then Google ailment medical medium, and you're gonna get something in there that you can use. That's a great way to help the people that you're talking to. I do it all the time. You guys are on the phone with me or on connect calls. You're like, okay, so and so has blah blah blah, and I just go ALS medical medium, and then I just go, okay, so It's like, what can I draw from our arsenal to help these people? So that's it. I'm going to make this recording available. I'll post it in the group pages. You can share it with friends, family, whoever you think would find this useful. I'm going to put it on my YouTube channel, so you'll be able to find the YouTube channel as well, Rachel Valentat. And I love y'all. Yay.
Thanks so much, Rach.
Joining in the conversation. Peace out.
Amazing.
My pleasure.
Is anybody staying on to work?
Oh yeah, work party. We're doing this power hour now. I always forget. So anybody who wants to stay on, we're going to do a power hour. We'll stay on until about 2:30, and you guys can we can prospect together and just send people messages. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.